Dirt 5's career mode, or its single player experience, is minimalist at best with a streamlined scenario flow chart. It's as basic as you can get with a single player experience. No grassroots to the Le Mans dreams here, baby. Just grab a car and race 3 to 5 minutes and rinse and repeat for a few hours. You quickly find out if you actually like this game or not based on how repetitive the single player action truly is. For me, I love the racing, and the short and sweet races keep me entertained. Those looking for an in-depth career mode will be sorely disappointed. First off, Dirt 5 never advertised itself as a sim or realistic experience at all, so put down your torches and pitchforks, you elitist pricks. No one cares if you can't sit down in your overpriced rig and turn it into a proper simulation experience. Take your ass back to iRacing or Assetto Corsa if you want that shit. Dirt 5 gives you a solid arcade off-road experience with its style of racing. Honestly, it just reminded me of the good old days 4x4 Evo 2, what that game did for me back on the PlayStation 2. Just get into a vehicle and race off-road and have fun while doing it. Luckily, Dirt 5's graphics also makes it aesthetically pleasing and enjoyable to look at while flying around these tracks. Honestly, I would have finished career mode much sooner, but I kept pausing the game and getting into photo mode and taking cool-ass shots, snapping crazy little thumbnails for myself, and sharing that shit on Twitter. It was fun. I got to take photos of mini cars and the surrounding environment, and I had a lot of fun doing it. But enough about the graphics, as the graphics are usually the last thing I am thinking about. Let's talk about the gameplay and career mode as a whole. The racing in Dirt 5 is superb. I love the feeling when you yank on the old handbrake and can block it around a hairpin at 55 miles an hour, overtaking on the inside while sliding in and accelerating out of a turn. The racing is fast and fun. The collisions are where things get a little out of hand and things take a turn for the hilarious. Sometimes a simple bump will send your car or truck flying into the air. Just about every race you'll witness the AI field just slam into a wall, then collide with each other, and then smash the ever-living shit out of one another. It's like a goddamn mosh pit for race trucks. Another thing the AI seems to do often is just randomly slide out of control. They never let off the throttle at all. They just smash that damn thing into the ground and commit no matter how many people they viciously murder in the process. You'll see many AI mishaps like this during your trek through career mode. Another thing about the AI is how insanely inconsistent the difficulty feels. I played through the game on the hardest difficulty, which is very hard, and sometimes it would be a hard-fought race to the podium, and sometimes I wouldn't even finish inside the top 5. Hell, there was a couple times I didn't even get a top 10. Then the very next race, I would have a 12-second lead on the rest of the field. Sometimes I would beat their asses so bad that I would go into the menu just to make sure the difficulty was still on very hard, and in fact, it was still on very hard. This inconsistency wasn't game-breaking at all, but it was very noticeable. The plot for career mode is quite bad. You are a rookie driver being brought into this racing world by a person named AJ. This mentor guy has had a bad race with the protagonist, Durand, who pretty much bitch slaps AJ so hard that AJ goes into retirement. To get back at Durand, he goes all in on you, like a big ol' Las Vegas style bet. The driver who is going to win it all and avenge AJ and beat Durand and send him back into the void. Along the way, you get commentary from AJ, as well as Nolan and James from Donut Media on their in-game podcast as they push the narrative and the story, in quotes, forward. It's nice to hear James and Nolan, as their personality always brings a smile to my face. Well, if you like their style of content anyways, which I do, I really appreciated hearing them in the game. During one of these podcast interviews, however, they have Durand on, and he is a complete and total douchebag fuckboy in this interview. He dismisses everybody, dismisses the talent of you, the actual racer. He is a complete asshat to James during the podcast interview, and he just talks mad shit about how he is going to win everything. Cut forward to the main events. One quick thing I want to complain about, though, before we get to the end game stuff here, is making most of the races in this game is only 3 laps long, which is completely fine. But for whatever reason, there's about a handful of tracks on here. There's a handful of races where the lap count goes up to 5. And all of a sudden making your races have 2 more laps doesn't make things more interesting. Honestly, it was more annoying than anything because I was just expecting 3-lap races the entire time. I mean, sure, if you had something called an endurance race, maybe you can have a 15-lap race or something, but even the sprint tracks were inconsistent. The sprint racing is just a simple oval, very simple oval. The races are finished in like 2 minutes, if not sooner, because much sooner actually, because those laps are like 15 to 20 seconds apiece. There was one race that only had 5 laps. There was one race that had 10 laps, and that one actually made sense. And then there was one race that only had 3 laps around the oval. That doesn't make any sense to me. So the lap inconsistency, it was kind of nitpicky, but it was really annoying. Now let's cut forward to the main event races where you have to race Durand up to 3 times. And you only have to beat one of these races to actually finish the game. But I beat all 3 races, and need I remind you, I am on the hardest difficulty here, and I beat the ever-living shit out of Durand and sent his ass packing. 3 races total, and I beat him in each race without a problem. I didn't even break a sweat. Hell, during the race in Morocco, I was so far ahead, I actually made a huge mistake, and I spun my truck into a rock, flipped my truck, recovered, and this is at the latter half of the 3rd lap, and it's the final lap, and I still won the race. Durand is all talk and no fucking walk. Then, when you put Durand into the Shadow Realm, AJ comes out of retirement for one finale superstar race in South Africa using a modern rallycross car. And let me tell you, this is easy as well. Not only is he a pushover, just because, you know, he takes a shitty line, a driving line through the S's and chicanes, you could totally wall ride this track and win by a mile. It's one of those game-breaking things where if you want to just ride the walls on every turn, you can. And it's pathetic how uneventful the end game is here. It happened so fast that I almost forgot that I had beat the game until the credits rolled and I was reminded that I actually did a thing and now career mode's over. It was lazy at best, but I suppose I had fun doing it. Oh, and when you beat Durand, he tucks his dick in between his legs and turns into the most whipped and humble competitor to ever exist. He just congratulates you. The tone in his voice changes. He turns into such a fucking wuss. And man, that is just good character development, right? You can expect more plot and better acting in a Fancy Feast commercial. But for what it is, though, I had fun playing career mode. The racing was fun, the AI antics made things interesting, and the Donut Media boys are just a treat.
Bye, have a great time.